So hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to take out a regular gasoline powered Elantra, and then we're going to take out the Elantra Hybrid, and I guess just see what my opinions are on how each one drives, some of the differences I can tell with like the driving dynamics, the powertrain, stuff like that, and also just take a look at, the interior differences. Although these aren't quite equal trims, one's an SEL Convenience, the Hybrid is the Limited, so obviously that one's going to have all of the features available here in the US for the Elantra lineup. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to drive each, see which one drives a little bit better, and kind of what my impressions are of both. Now, believe it or not, I've actually not driven this generation of Elantra out on the roadway, so I think this will be a great experience, given I have spent quite a few minutes with both vehicles here on the lot making content with each one. But I really just want to see kind of how the gasoline and the hybrids drive, since we happen to have both in stock, and I can kind of do an equal comparison. Now, like I said, the vehicle I'm currently starting out with is the gasoline SEL Convenience. This one did get these 17-inch wheels for 2023, so that is why I think this will be a really equal comparison, even though they are different trim levels with the different powertrains, because this one has the same 17-inch wheels. So yeah, this should be an equal, very good experience kind of driving both, and I'm excited to try them both out, that's for sure. So I'm also going to take each one on the same loop, or try to the best I can. I don't think there should be any issues with that, but it'll be about 20-25 minutes each loop. Do a little acceleration here. Now, one thing I'm very not used to is that IVT or CVT type transmission. That is definitely something that I'm not used to, again, in my personal vehicle. But it got up and went pretty good. It wasn't floored, wasn't full throttle, but it did very well under, 50-60% throttle, got up to 60 miles an hour without any issues. And again, that's pretty impressive, considering, again, this is the base powertrain available in the Elantras. It is kind of interesting to feel the CVT type transmission work. It's just not traditional, because typically, with your geared transmissions or dual clutches, the vehicle would shift down, accelerate, and then shift back up, obviously, when it's done accelerating or meets the throttle. But yeah, this is very interesting. And the heated seat heated up extremely quick. I know these are the cloth seats, but man, this is on the level 1 and it's like burning hot. And my initial impressions, I guess, driving with the Elantra over the last few minutes, is that there's not a power issue by any means. It's not like there's a ton of power available with this 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, but I think compared with the CVT type transmission, it can always find the best rev band for the engine to put it in its peak power or most appropriate power levels. But yeah, so far, no issues. The MPG that it's saying I'm getting is over 30 MPG. Now, in terms of kind of the interior sound levels, I will say it seems a little bit louder on the inside than I was expecting. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because again, this is a compact sedan, kind of in the more affordable segment of vehicles, but I have to say it's maybe 10-20% louder than I was expecting out of a brand new vehicle, even in this segment of more affordable transportation. He had a red light and the guy was honking at him to go. In terms of handling, feels pretty good. This is just the entry level. I guess it does have the upgraded 17-inch wheels, but there is a, not too much body roll. It handles fine. All-season tires are more than appropriate, again, for this class of vehicle. And I think the ride quality is actually pretty good. This one has the torsion beam rear suspension, which once we jump in the Hybrid, I'm interested to see what the multi-link independent feels like in that vehicle, along with the totally different drivetrain, including the transmission, along with the, of course, hybrid powertrain underneath the hood. Now, here, going over some rougher pavement, I knew this section of road would not be the best quality, so this kind of tests out the ride quality, some noise aspects as well, and just how the vehicle handles over kind of rougher roads. I think it's actually doing way better than I thought. Very comfortable ride, not harsh whatsoever. Now, if you do want a stiffer ride or kind of a more sporty driving dynamic, then I would obviously step up to either the N-Line or the full-blown Elantra N if you kind of want that sportier segment of vehicle. But for a lot of people, I think this would offer a very good value. Perfect daily driver, obviously, in the more affordable segment of vehicles. And the ride quality is, yeah, pretty good. And one thing I will say in terms of visibility is I'm personally used to driving kind of a hatchback So used to looking out a rear window with a wiper, just a little bit larger of a rear window as well. And I will say it's not bad visibility out the back here with the interior mirror, but it is a little bit smaller than I'm used to. The headrest in the center does stick up a little bit, and the third brake light as well kind of sticks up, but the headrest is actually perfectly in line with that third brake light. So overall, it doesn't cut into visibility really at all. Just the slant of the glass itself, as well as the design of the vehicle, just is a little bit different than I'm used to, but visibility as a whole is pretty good. I definitely could see how there might be a little bit of a blind spot here with the B pillar, depending on your seating position. Maybe another one over there in the C pillar, but again, this vehicle has blind spot detection, so combined with these safety features and everything like that, it shouldn't be too much of a big deal. And in terms of interior comfort and kind of the ergonomics, I really do like the seat comfort. I think that's very good. Comes out a good amount behind the knee, so a good amount of support there with the kind of base 6-way adjustment of the seat. The cloth material is actually pretty soft in comparison to some of the other Hyundai models, so I think the seat comfort is very adequate. Of course, it would be nice to have some lumbar adjustment, but you do get that kind of the farther up you go in the trim structure. But as a whole, I think the seat comfort, the interior materials are very good here on this SEL Convenience package. One thing I do note is I really like the leather wrapped steering wheel. I don't think I could probably drive a vehicle, I know as bad as it sounds, without a leather wrapped steering wheel anymore. So it's nice to see that this one has the leather wrapped steering wheel. And again, I think this is a very good value. So turning onto the interstate here, let's go ahead and put the vehicle in sport mode like I said. Looks like the revs jumped up just a little bit. The whole gauge cluster changed because obviously this one has the configurable cluster. And yeah, I'm not even pushing down the pedal that far, and it's definitely more throttle sensitive than in normal mode. So driving about 70 miles an hour, you definitely hear a little bit more of the tire noise. Not so much more wind noise necessarily, but a little bit more tire noise. Go ahead and put the adaptive cruise control on. And because this vehicle again has the adaptive cruise control with the built-in navigation, it automatically will match the speed via the speed limit signs or the built-in navigation, which is definitely a nice feature. So I guess now that we're on our way back to change it out, I'll give you my final impressions here on this first drive. One of the things I think I would like to see improved, if possible, would be the noise levels inside the cabin. I think it's more than adequate for this segment and price point of vehicle. However, I think it could be a little bit quieter here on the inside. But in terms of the overall driving dynamics, steering, brakes, throttle, engine power, stuff like that, I don't have any complaints. I think this is more than adequate. I don't think there's too many changes between these two. Both of them are going to have 17-inch wheels. But again, it will be interesting to see by chance if that one might be a little bit quieter or not. Okay, so here we are jumping in the hybrid. And again, this is the limited, so it's going to have all the options and features and more than the gasoline powered limited. Make sure to check out my walk around videos on each of these vehicles if you're interested. However, I immediately noticed that the seats are going to be a little bit nicer. I prefer a leather seat, I think, personally. And the power adjustments on the side are going to be better because you can actually raise the front of the seat up, give you a little bit more thigh support if you would like it. But overall, you're able to get just a little bit more comfortable here on the cabin. But again, we're not comparing too much here in terms of the features and options because these are not equivalent trim levels. We're more interested in how they drive and how they differ kind of in terms of the powertrain. So make sure we're in normal mode. Go ahead and set out here with the hybrid. And I am very interested to see kind of how this one drives. It says we have 3/4 worth of battery, so that is plenty for this drive. And if you guys are unaware, this one has the 1.6 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder electric motor battery pack, of course, paired to a 6-speed dual clutch transmission. So I am interested to kind of see how this feels. There we go. You feel the shifts like a normal kind of gear selected transmission versus the CVT with the gasoline powered one. And give it a little bit of acceleration here. Definitely a more traditional powertrain with the gears shifts versus kind of just revving it out. And I guess on the same stretch of road in terms of interior volume, wind noise reduction, anything like that, feels the same as the other car, sounds the same. Still hear a little bit of road noise, a little bit of wind noise. We actually are going into EV only mode right now, which is actually very cool. We are going up a slight hill as well. Okay, then it kicked out of EV mode. So it's definitely be interesting to see how much it goes into EV only mode. We are going 60 miles an hour up a slight incline. There goes into EV mode under deceleration. Let's see how much throttle I can give it before it goes into gas power. Actually, I'm giving it quite a bit of throttle. There it goes. I was gonna say, I'm like, I'm giving it quite a bit of throttle. Here we are, 40 miles an hour under battery only. I kind of like this. It's almost like a challenge. How much can you give it under battery only mode until the engine kicks on? That's kind of fun. Brake pedal feel feels really good. I assume there's a little bit of regenerative braking as well with the motor, so that should help under deceleration. Now, one thing that might just be a total placebo, but I think I can already tell a difference. We'll have to see once we get up here a few miles up the road with the rougher pavement, is the independent rear suspension on this car. I think it definitely helps out in terms of the driving dynamics, driving feel over rough pavement. Each wheel can kind of travel independently from one another, and there's no influence whatsoever from the other side. So say you hit a big bump on the right side, it's not going to influence the other side. So here we are heading onto the rougher road. Yeah, I gotta say, this one rides better than the other one. The independent suspension, I have it on my personal car. It's just that it doesn't influence the other side like a torsion beam does, which I actually had on my previous car. So I do have experience with both suspension designs. And I have to say, the independent, I don't know what it is, if it's the additional weight of the hybrid battery combined with the multi-link independent suspension, but I just have to say this one rides better. And I've got to say, again, driving through town, electric only mode, it's definitely quieter on the cabin, that you're getting rid of that kind of gasoline internal combustion engine and 4-cylinder sound. So I would say that is an advantage of this vehicle, the hybrid, is that it will be quieter under certain scenarios where the gasoline power engine is off, driving at low to moderate speeds. So I think we're about halfway through the drive, and I have to say the battery, according to the low high meter, has dropped about 30% from where we started. It was just under 75 and it's just under half now, so I say about 30%. So it is interesting. I'll have to see when we get back, do the rest of this drive, where the meter is sitting exactly, but I guess I was not expecting it to drop that quickly. But with it going into EV mode as much as it has, I guess it does make sense. So here we are turning on the interstate again. I'll go ahead and put it in sport mode for this little stint on the acceleration. Handling's very good once again. I'd say this one might be a hair quicker than the other one, but not too much quicker in terms of a straight line speed. That's just seat of the pants, of course. Now, once again, this one does have highway driving assist, so a little bit more advanced than the other one with just the lane following assist, the navigation-based smart cruise control, and of course the lane following assist. We will be going down a slight hill. I'm going to see if it goes into EV only mode, because it did very briefly around 60 miles an hour. So here we go, going down a slight hill, see if it drops into EV only mode. Yep, it did. So at 70 miles an hour going down, I don't know, a single couple percent grade, went into EV only mode, still in EV only mode, starting to go up the hill, and there it kicked out. I don't know exactly what it is about this car, but I definitely see why there's quite a bit of demand for the hybrid versions of Hyundai's vehicles, is that I think they offer a very good in-between, even between a plug-in hybrid, of course, and a regular gas vehicle. This one sits between that. It all just offers a little bit different of a driving dynamic, which obviously nets you better fuel economy. I'm really enjoying driving this Elantra hybrid. So I guess some of my final thoughts on this vehicle as we head back is I have a dual clutch, the 7-speed dual clutch in my personal vehicle. And I have to say that the electric motor in this vehicle with the 6-speed dual clutch, I think provides enough torque, combined of course with the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, to overcome the tendency to need to downshift. So I guess what I'm saying is, when you're park throttle, say the car's in like 4th gear or whatever, and you give it some additional throttle because you want additional acceleration, well, because you have that electric motor paired of course to the 4-cylinder, that provides enough torque to where instead of needing to downshift to say 3rd gear, the car can just stay in the 4th gear that it's already in. It can accelerate using the electric motor and the additional torque it has, and it just doesn't need to shift as much. So that is kind of the overall feel I've gotten from this vehicle, comparing it to my own personal vehicle with the 1.6 liter turbo and the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. So I guess that's just kind of the feeling I got. I think it actually provides for a better driving experience because the transmission doesn't need to shift as often. Downshifts can also be a little bit, I wouldn't say harsh, but noticeable nonetheless, if you've ever driven kind of these 7-speed vehicles. So I think that's kind of the feeling I've gotten, and it definitely adds to the driving dynamic. And this is a vehicle that I could actually feel like I could drive on a daily basis. So just pull back in, same loop of driving. The MPG, according to the trip odometer, once again, 46.2. So that represents over 8 MPG better, according to the computer, than we did in the gasoline, again, on the same route. I guess you guys can take it for what it's worth. Both these are the computer estimated and not kind of actually calculated at the pump. But I'd say it got better nonetheless, and I would hope so, being that it was an EV for a good chunk of the time. And I guess one thing I want to mention is that the transition from the gasoline engine turning on and off is extremely smooth in this vehicle. I was expecting to be able to feel it, at least at some point, and you can kind of notice it. You know, you hear it obviously, but you really don't feel it all that much. So I think it is very smooth. Hyundai did a great job kind of implementing that transition between the gas going on and off. And as a whole, yeah, I really enjoy driving the hybrid. I'd say quite a bit more than the gasoline powered Elantra. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this side-by-side or kind of back-to-back driving comparison rather. This was the first time behind the wheel of this generation Elantra, like I mentioned. And because we had both these in stock, I thought it was a good time to kind of drive them, compare them back-to-back. If you guys did enjoy this video or found it helpful, please hit that like button below. It greatly helps out. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you guys are not already subscribed. And as always, check out some of their content. And let me know if you guys happen to own a new Elantra hybrid in this generation and what your ownership experience has been like. I imagine it's been pretty positive, seeing that you get very good MPG. I really do like the driving dynamic with the EV only mode, and the dual clutch is very smooth in this particular vehicle. Oh, and the suspension setup in the back, I definitely think that is a benefit. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next